Hey everyone, how's it going? This is Dan the Tutor. So today I'm showing off my second interview. Today I'm interviewing Hasan Zaidi, one of my friends from high school, super smart guy. He's going into the medical profession right now. He did his undergrad at Temple and now he's in medical school at Drexel. My knowledge of what it takes to be a doctor or a nurse or any of those medical professions is very limited, so I'm super excited to talk to him today. Well, this interview actually took place like a month ago now. I think I'm actually wearing the same shirt as I did in the interview. But I finally got around to editing it, and I'm excited to share it with you all today. So for any of you thinking about going into the medical profession or a pre-med track into med school, this is going to be super valuable for you. So you're going to see that the video starts before I even do the introduction, and that's because before the talk even started, we were talking about how kids today need to decide between following their passion or a more traditional job that, just pays the bills. And how there is a way to merge the two things. And so that's what we talked about for the first, 2 minutes. And then the rest of the video is mostly med school stuff. So who knows, maybe even if you don't want to go down that road, you'll find it interesting. I hope so. I thought it was interesting. And I hope to be doing more of these in the future. I'm going to try and release them once a month. And I'm always looking for people to interview. So if you are interested, hit me up and I'll reach out to you. And without further ado, here's the interview.
I think that I'm not totally on board with like 100% follow your passion, because I feel like some people have stupid passions and like,
Oh, yeah.
if they just follow that, then they're not going to achieve the other goals in their life.
Yep.
And I feel like if it's not feasible to make a living off of your passion, like you still need to eat food. You still need like a roof over your head, right?
Yep.
And so I think there's absolutely like a balancing act between doing something that's practical and something that's like follow your passion.
Right. And I think on top of that, like one thing I now say to people a lot is like some people, like their passion is like, for instance, singing or sports or something along those lines. And like one of the things I learned, no, I won't even say the hard way. I learned it the easy way, honestly, just because the thing I love doing happened to be tutoring. But like, why do I love tutoring? Because I love math and physics. Like I loved Mr. Desko and Mrs. Archeronian's classes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like high school was just easy for me. And so I kind of just like kept going down that road. But what I learned is, like, for me, the difference between doing something practical and, like, following your passion, and kind of how you can merge the two in, like, a best-case scenario way is, like, there's a big difference between someone who sings for a living and teaches someone else how to sing. And what is that difference? One is you're providing a value or a service to someone else. You know what I mean? And the other one is kind of just selfish. It's all about me, 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 me.
Yeah.
And actually, no joke, that was kind of me when I had my YouTube channel going on for a while. Is like it was all about me, 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 and no wonder I wasn't making any money because it was like a very like selfish perspective.
Yeah, and, I mean, I don't know if it was selfish, but I feel like it was something that you enjoyed doing and like you were good at. It depends. I don't. If you weren't making money off of it, I feel like that's like a different part of it. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm purely saying from like a making a living standpoint. It was a great hobby because like I love making videos. I love making people laugh. But if I want to do this for a living, you just can't go at it from that kind of like when I say selfish perspective, like what I mean is I remember I was posting videos on the YouTube NewTubers subreddit specifically for new YouTubers, and the only posts I would make were on the Friday submission, whatever, where everyone would like watch each other's videos, and you had to critique, or else like you can't just post for free. Essentially, it's like mooching off the community. So I was just essentially doing the bare minimum of that. I would comment on the two videos, and then I would be like, come on, like, say good stuff about my videos. And it was like a very selfish perspective, and I realized that, like, in hindsight. And if I were to do it again, I would 100% try and, like, get more involved with the community. I would have tried to, like, build up other people, give them advice, and, like, pretty much give back more than I expect in return. And that's what I found, at least for this tutoring thing, it's easy because it's just such a high demand in the market. Like people just want to pass their classes, and it's a talent to have. But I guess the other point I make like to all my students is like they all have like some kind of like passion that they want to do. Whether it be some of them it's real estate, some of them it is like engineering, some of them it's going into biology. Whatever it is, I can keep doing this for 20 hours a week on top of my 40-hour-a-week job. And I stress this to every single kid. The only reason I can do it is not because I'm making X number of dollars. Like I would hate it after a while because like once you get past like the point of living, like right around what is it, $70,000? Once you get like more than that, it's like diminishing returns. It's like it's not making your life any better. The only way that you're going to sustainably like keep doing what you do is if you genuinely love it. And I can tell you for a fact that I genuinely love tutoring. Hello everyone, my name is Dan the Tutor. Today I am joined with one of my closest, well, a close friend from high school. We have Hasan Zaidi. Hasan, why don't you introduce yourself to the crowd?
Hi, my name's Hasan. Thanks for having me on, Dan. Dan and I are friends from high school, and he hit me up.
Friends is a strong, let's say acquaintances.
Acquaintances. I saw him once or twice in high school, and so he hit me up to see if we could talk about some, I guess, career stuff. Should I go into my educational background?
Yeah. So pretty much, let's go from post high school. What did you do?
So post high school, I went to Temple University. I majored in bioengineering while I was there, and developed an interest in healthcare on top of my already developed interest in life sciences. And then from there, I decided to go to medical school. And so I'm currently a second-year medical student at Drexel University in Philadelphia. And that's what I'm doing right now.
Okay, cool. Now, the other reason why I really wanted to bring you on is because you recently, I saw a Facebook post where you got published in a scientific journal. Is that right?
Yeah, I did, thankfully.
So tell me, from what I understand, it's a big deal. Or maybe I'm even not putting enough emphasis on that.
It's I don't know if it's a big deal, but it's a good deal. So when you're in academia, and whether that's undergrad or graduate school or medical school, and especially when you're planning on moving forward in your academic career and not going into industry,
yeah,
and sometimes even then, there's a huge emphasis placed on productivity in terms of research.
Mm-hmm.
And so if you can get your name on a publication, especially if you can get it as a first author, it's not necessarily it's going to make or break your career. Because typically in undergrad, you're not really undergrad, or even as a student, generally you're not publishing at the level where you're going to be publishing in massive, there are a couple people who do publish at that high level, but at this point it's just to honestly express your interest, do what you're interested in, and say hey, I can actually do things that other people are interested in looking at in terms of research. And it becomes for some people it's just something to put on the resume, and then if you're actually really interested in research, that's how you start building your portfolio, getting connected with professionals who do research, and so it's just generally a good thing. And then increasingly for top tier programs, whether that's for undergrad, for medical school, for residency, and onwards, they do look at how productive you've been in research and which journals you've published and things like that. Mm-hmm. So for me, I kind of got lucky.
Yeah, that was going to be one of my questions. Was pretty much how did you even get into this opportunity? Was it just complete luck of the draw, kind of, or did you assert yourself into a position where you were able to get on this team?
It's a mix of both, honestly. So this paper that I had published recently it's actually my second publication. My first one was in undergrad, and I kind of got both the same way, but the difference was in how much I was capable of, and how much the PI, or the principal investigator, as in the professor who owns the grant and actually runs the project, let me be involved. And so in undergrad, it was a translational research in bioengineering, and in med school this time. Both times it was just a matter of me reaching out to the professor, hey, just a cold email, hey, I'm interested in the kind of work that you do, because I researched them beforehand, looked them up on PubMed, see what kinds of things they publish, how frequently they publish, what they do, and just say hey, I'm interested in this field that you're in. I saw these projects that you worked on. Here's what I'm capable of. Here's my skill set. Is there any position in your lab or in your research group for me?
Yeah.
And then depending on the professor, they'll let you get involved in various levels of research. I mean, you did electrical engineering. I'm sure you know how that goes.
Yep.
And so for me in undergrad, I wasn't as involved. I was still going in, I went in during the summer, but the type of research that they did, it was just very difficult to do in the short time that I had available.
Mm-hmm.
So I was able to help with some stuff, and I got like a middle author because they were able to put a paper out. But in med school, this is more like clinical / survey based research. So they're able to like put stuff out more quickly, and I'm able to be more involved because it doesn't require like the threshold of knowledge and skill required is a little bit lower for this specific type of research.
Right.
And so I was lucky that I had a fantastic PI for this time.
What does PI stand for again?
Principal investigator. So this is the person that so whenever professors do research, right, they typically get grants. In medicine, it's usually like, it can be private grants, but a lot of it is based on NIH funding.
What's NIH?
And so like the National Institutes of Health, basically the government organization that like funds and regulates and decides like what we want to allocate money for in research.
Yeah.
And so like, for example, like Dr. Fauci, he's the head of one of the institutions under the umbrella of the NIH.
Okay.
And so when professors want to do research on, like in medicine, I can speak at least, like they say like, hey, we want to do research on this, like this one disease or this treatment or something. They'll send their like preliminary research and like say like, here's what I want to do. And they'll apply for a grant to the NIH. And then so the NIH will say like, hey, this is worth looking into, and they'll give them money to do that research. And so that person who owns the grant is considered the PI.
Okay.
Gotcha. The principal investigator. And they're basically like the point person for the research. They're like in charge. They're accountable for how that money is spent, whether or not they're productive, things like that. And that's how doing research, getting grants, getting published is how professors like advance in their academic careers and like become tenured if they're going to do that. That's how that happens. And so these people can decide more basically like who's going to work with them, especially if you're a student.
Yep.
So you might contact them and say like, they might say like, hey, I don't have a position for you, or I have a position for you, but you won't get paid, or anything like that.
Yeah.
And so these people decide, and it very much depends on like how involved they want you to be and what they let you do. And that greatly affects how productive you'll be able to be in research as a student. Yeah.
So it sounds like you're already like on that path, like right now, wouldn't you say?
So the reason full disclosure, the reason I'm doing it is because for me, I'm kind of I'm interested in clinical research, but it's not really something I see being a massive part of my career.
Okay.
But more so, it's very important when applying for residency positions. Because it's not like a hard requirement for anything, but like I mentioned earlier, it is like a soft requirement for some of the more competitive residencies, especially.
Okay. So just real quick, you want to be in a residency, right?
So in the US, like if you want to practice as a physician, you have to do residency.
Okay. So my next
question is not that I want to, it's more so like that I have to go through that stage of like indentured servitude.
Yeah, I guess my question was two-part. I guess number one was like the part where it's like, I feel like there's two roads you can go down. Well, I'm sure there's more than two, but just very basic. Two roads you can go down is like the research side and like work for a school, a university under a professor or stuff like that. Then you can kind of go down like the private business and like actually like be like a doctor and stuff like that. So, and when I say doctor, I think of, the guy with the stethoscope and like who checks, very limited understanding kind of definition. Is that the road that you want to go down?
So the dichotomy that you're talking about is essentially academic versus private practice.
Yeah.
Right. So if you go the academic medicine route, and you'll be employed by like a university hospital typically, and that'll come with its own obligations of either like teaching or doing research or both. And in that field, like if you do want to advance in your career, typically they either have to take on educational, administrative, or research roles. And you have to do one of those things. Like there's very few academic docs who like only see patients and do nothing else.
Okay.
And then the other side is private practice, whether you start your own practice or if you join like a physician group or just like a private employer. That's more so just focused on like volume and seeing patients and like doing things for patients. Not that the academic docs don't, but like there's less of that, like proportionally. And so right now I'm leaning towards academic practice because I enjoy education, and that way you're more involved in medical education. So like when you're intending like a fully trained doctor, you'll still be working with residents and medical students, and you get to like show them the ropes, and I think that's really fun. So that's something I'm going to get into. That's something that's much less common in private practice. Like sometimes private practice docs like will contract with medical schools to say like, yeah, you can do rotations with us, but it's much less common because ultimately like anytime that private practice docs spend like not seeing patients, that's money they're losing.
Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And how about follow-up question? My entire knowledge of residency is based on scrubs. Now,
Okay.
is that what you want, essentially, working in like a hospital, and like that's just for like the kind of like checkbox so that you can get one step closer to like your end goal?
So should I just like explain what residency is in general?
Yeah.
So as so medical school is 4 years. Let's start there, right? First 2 years is you're just doing like book work, like you're building that foundation of knowledge so that you're not like just super stupid when you go to the hospital. After those first 2 years, you won't be super stupid, but you'll still be stupid, right? So the third and fourth year is like when you actually start seeing patients and you start trying to apply what you learned in those first 2 years. And then, so third and fourth year, you're basically, like working average of probably 60 hours a week, seeing patients while supervised by like residents and attendings. And you're paying for the privilege. So that's what med school is. And after those 4 years, you graduate with whatever medical degree, like the MD, DO, whatever. Now, as a fresh graduate MD, DO, you cannot do anything. Like the US will not let you practice, right? So you need to do a minimum of 1 year to like do anything, and you need to do a minimum of 3 years to like be eligible for board certification and actually get hired anywhere.
Why did you want to go down the road that you chose? And I guess really, like, I bet it started in high school. Like, you started, like, you were interested in this stuff, obviously, probably with like biology classes or chemistry or whatever. What ultimately kind of like guided your decisions, like from high school to where you are now?
Yeah, so I'm pretty cookie cutter in terms of like med school applicants because like I don't have some like major life-changing event that was like, oh, I escaped from, some war-torn country and was able to, do brain surgery while, sucking my thumb and getting bombed. So like I don't have anything like that, but like basically it's like what you said. So I was interested in life sciences in pretty early on. I thought biology was really cool, except for like plant biology. That sucked. And then after that, so I kind of had medicine on my mind, but I also knew it was like a really difficult path to go down, and I'd like have to commit 100%. And then I knew I also wanted a job where like it's huge cliche, but I wanted to help people, and not in the sense of just like, every job helps people. Otherwise, like most of them, they wouldn't exist. But I wanted to like use my interests to help people in a way that I was seeing in front of me. And like with my interest, I could have gone down like the private industry route in bioengineering. I could have gone down the research route. But I wanted to go down the medicine route eventually because I wanted to like people to come to me. I wanted to diagnose them, and I wanted to see them getting better, ideally. And so that was big for me because I wanted to feel like I was making a difference in somebody's life. And everybody in like the sciences, healthcare sciences, especially, I feel, does that to some extent. But I wanted to do that. I wanted to see the effect, and I wanted to do it at like the highest level. I wanted to know that like the things that I'm doing for my patients and the people I'm seeing are like, the standard of practice. Mm-hmm. And I want to know why, because I've always been naturally curious.
And actually, that kind of brings me back to another point that I wanted to touch on but completely forgot about. When you mentioned very early on with your own story that you reached out to like a lot of like people, right?
Yeah.
And I feel like that's so like networking is just like such an essential skill that it's not easy to teach. You know what I mean? Like it's not just like know these people and then gain off benefit of them. But one of the things that I think that is important, I think you'd agree with me, is that just you can't be afraid to ask. You need to have the confidence to send that cold email.
My younger brother is actually in college right now. He's going through, and this is what I've been telling him like the whole time. Like I was like, you gotta just contact people. If you have a professor, just go up, talk to them. If you see somebody online like that you're interested like in their work or research or internships, whatever, just contact them. The worst they can say is say no, right?
Yeah.
And that's how I got like both the research positions I've had is just like emailing people straight up and being like, hey, I'm interested in what you're working on.
And do you have any advice for like getting over kind of that? There's got to be like an initial like anxiety hump that you got to cross to like put yourself out there in that way, or was it easy for you?
It was
Mr. Charisma himself, Hasan Zaidi.
I am absolutely not Mr. Charisma. I guess I am privileged in that like I had like backups and stuff, and I wasn't super nervous about it, about contacting people. I was fortunate to have like pretty great mentors of my own, and they gave me the same advice, which is just like you got to contact people, and especially if you don't go to like those Ivy League big name universities, and I imagine it's still true there. It's just they have more resources, but like if you go to like big state schools like we did, right?
Yeah.
They have all those resources, but they're not gonna like hold your hand, right? Like Penn State, Temple, schools like this, like they have professionals in every specialty that you want, like every academic field. You just have to actually like go out and talk to them, and that's something that served me well. Even so, first year of med school, I mean, I'll tell you now, the professor I'm working with, she initially like straight up like ignored my emails. So I sent them initially. I was like, hey, I saw that, like, these papers you're published. This is the kind of research I want to do, and I'm interested. Here's what I can do. And I sent her this whole long, nice email, and she just like completely ghosted me initially. And then I just started looking at other professors, like who else is doing research, who else can I find.
Now, another question I had that you kind of mentioned offhandedly there is just about the Ivy League institutions. How important is it? Like, let's start with just the difference between grad school and undergrad in terms of which college you go to. Like, for instance, does the undergrad college matter if you get into a really good graduate school and vice versa?
So what I can talk about medicine mainly. I will say that the more you want to be involved in academics, the more the name of the school matters. But for medicine, it matters. It still matters, but it matters less, because ultimately, like, if you just want to practice medicine and see patients and like treat patients, you just need like a valid medical degree, right? The vast majority of patients don't know where their doctor went to med school. And so the point is, like, if you want to practice like medicine, like it really doesn't care. It doesn't care. It doesn't really matter where you went to med school. Like ultimately, what it does matter for is if you want those like tenure track prestigious positions, then it does matter. And it also matters for like what specialty you want to do, right? So to give you the two extremes, right? So like if you just want to do like rural family practice, you just want to see patients and you don't want to do research or anything else, it does not matter if you went to Harvard or if you went to like some like no-name school that nobody's heard of, right? So if you want to do like dermatology, plastics, like ENT, those kind, like either the more competitive specialties or you want to do them at the more competitive locations, it does matter where you go to med school.
Cool. And yeah, I think this is a great talk. I guess the one last question I'll give you is, let's say there's a young Hasan Zaidi out there in the audience who is either in high school or like undergrad. What advice would you give to them if they were pursuing this the same road as you, this medical, either academic or private practice kind of route?
I don't know. I'd probably tell them to like.
First of all, you want to give them like a warning, like an "it gets better" message or something. I have a feeling you're in the "it gets worse" stage right now.
It gets better and worse. It just gets different. I would give him the advice to just like enjoy every stage of your life for what it is, and don't like constantly look forward to like, oh, like, when I get to this stage it'll be this, or when I get to that, like, just
enjoy the climb, not just the destination.
Exactly. I think that's what it has to be, because like ultimately every stage of your life is going to have its own challenges. It's going to have its own pros and cons. There's things that I love about med school. There's things I hate about med school. It's just very different from undergrad or from high school or every other previous stage of my life.
Yeah.
And it's going to be different in the future when I start, residency, hopefully, and onwards. So, and I feel like it's such a long path. Like I'm in like what, 12, 16, I'm in 18th grade right now. So, that I like, if I keep thinking like, oh, I'm going to enjoy my life when I get to this stage or this stage, I'm going to end up like 50 years old and like my life is gone. And I've just been looking forward to it this whole time. So.
And the funny thing is, I think like a lot of people who like, I guess are famous, like I listen to Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend, the very popular podcast with your host, Conan O'Brien. He has like a ton of these people, like, just, people who made it essentially. And like all of them kind of have like the same story where it's just like the end outcome isn't what kept them going. It's just the fact that they loved the climb is how they got to where they are. And I think regardless of whether you are working like retail and you're working your way up to like store manager, or whether you are like a movie star going up, climbing the ranks in that, it's gonna be true for whatever.
It's the same. Yeah, like right now, I think I have a pretty like I've enjoyed the past couple of years because I get to learn cool stuff all day, but the downside is like I have to study all day, right? And so and then like before in undergrad, it was like I wasn't quite as busy, but I was forced to do like work on things that I wasn't quite so interested in, right? And in the future, it'll be like, okay, I don't have to sit here and study all day, but now I have to like see patients, and which is the goal, seeing patients. But any job you do for 80 hours a week is going to be tiring. So
yeah,
I like exactly what you said. You just got to enjoy every stage for what it is.
Yeah, I think that's a good note to end it on.
All right.
Now, is there any bad notes that you want to end it on? I want to give the opportunity for that as well. Just like really bring down the audience.
Nah.
Oh, okay.
That's fine.
That's too bad. So thank you so much, Hasan.
Yeah.
And thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me. Good luck with the future of this podcast and your tutoring business as well.
Oh, the fact that I already have you, it's already, we're miles above where I thought we would be at a year ago from today. If we had the Dr. Hasan, can I call you doctor yet?
No, not yet.
Can I?
I'm halfway through, so I guess my brother or sister joked that I have the M, and so in 2 years you'll be able to call me doctor.
Okay, great. I'll see you later, Hasan. Thank you.
Yeah.